Good morning, Michael Havers here from Penn News, and today I'm in Jaywick. If you were to Google what's the most deprived place in the UK, odds are it's going to tell you it's Jaywick. And I've seen figures that at one time unemployment here was close to 50%. Now, Jaywick is part of the Clacton constituency, and that constituency made headlines this week for reasons of its own. You see, Nigel Farage, the enfant terrible of the British right, and a perpetual fly in the soup of the Conservative Party, has decided to stand for Parliament here. Now, he's tried to be elected to the British Parliament 7 times before, and he's never yet achieved it. Will it be different this time? Well, there's reason to think that maybe it will be. You see, first of all, he's never before stood in Clacton, and Clacton has a history of voting for parties to the right of the Conservative Party. In 2014, in a by-election, it elected an MP from Nigel Farage's old party UKIP, and in the general election the following year, they re-elected that MP. Not only that, in 2015, the Conservatives did pretty well. They were pretty competitive. They went on to win that election and to secure themselves a majority in Parliament. This year, no one's expecting them to do that. And in fact, their campaign seems to be a total disaster zone. So I think Nigel Farage could potentially win in this seat. But what really matters is not what I think, it's what the voters here think. So we're going to go and speak to them. First of all, how do you feel about the upcoming election, and how do you feel this Conservative government's been doing this past 14 years?
I don't think they've been doing very well, to be honest. About time we had an election to try and sort out the wheat from the chaff, as it were.
I don't know if he's had a chance to do anything.
Rishi Sunak?
Yeah.
Right.
They do slag him off. I don't know if it's because he's quite wealthy, whether he understands us layman people down here. I don't know. I can't comment because I try not to book my brain because I don't understand half of it.
I think it's been overdue, to be honest with you. We've had a succession of, I don't like using the word unelected Prime Ministers because obviously it's part of the job. It's whoever runs the show gets the job. But we've had, shall we say, a lot of turnovers of upper management, so maybe they're not doing something right. If this is a football team, it would be manager after manager after manager, and you know, the fans would be, the hell's going on here?
Well overdue.
The election?
Well overdue. I'm not normally that way inclined. I couldn't really give two monkeys one way or the other. But this, I think, is a defining time. I think after 14 years, and they talk about, well, let's face it, they talk the talk, and as far as it goes, no action. Right. And you hear the same old rhetoric over, oh, I'm sorry about this, we're going to do this. And you think, well, you've had 14 years to do all this. Now all of a sudden there's an election and you can't do enough now.
They've betrayed the people of this country and they've had enough of their lies and all their stories. Sunak's going to do this and he's useless. He's the black version of John Major and he was bloody useless as well. Their immigration policy stinks. They've let all these foreigners in and we don't need them here. There's a housing shortage, there's a shortage in schools of getting a decent school place for your child. The list is endless. The hospitals can't cope, and all these people have come here and they shouldn't be here.
Well, I think they've been trying, to say the least, but I mean, they've made some terrible mistakes. It didn't help with Liz Truss, did it? She fetched the country down, more or less. It affected everybody, and it'll affect them for years.
You mean the mini budget, as it were?
Yes, but...
turned out to be quite a big budget in terms of impact, didn't it?
Well, yes, I certainly got that wrong.
I feel like we're going downhill. I don't want to come across racist, but we can't keep letting people in. We're only a small island. Especially with D-Day yesterday. You know, our troops are looking for places to live, to feed, they're on the streets. They come over and they get everything. So it's very grinding to know that our people aren't getting looked after.
How do you think the Conservative government's got on this past 14 years?
Not very well.
Not very well.
I used to be a Conservative voter. I would not vote for this current crop. I've worked personally with 3 Tory MPs and my moral compass does not align with theirs.
Right, okay. Are you happy to share which Tory MPs, out of curiosity?
One current cabinet minister, one disgraced former Tory MP, and one current MP.
Before the pandemic, oh, we haven't got the money for this and we haven't got the money for that. And all of a sudden there's billions. So now, all of a sudden, they're trying to reintroduce things that they should have done in the first place.
When you hear about Rishi Sunak going on his policy blitz, national service pensions, is that what you're thinking?
What a load of old, I mean, it's a load of old cobblers. He knows it, and the public knows it. You can't do talking about conscription. My friend was in the army a few years ago, and he said, yes, that would have been fine 50 years ago. Now he's talking about doing that, and they do like community service. Well, if you want to do community service, go and smash a window in, and the government will oblige you and give you community service.
Sure, yeah.
You know, all for free as usual.
And then, of course, Boris Johnson. Well, yeah, I like Boris, but you could never trust him. He'd say one thing and do another.
Right.
I mean, in lockdown we had to stay in, and of course he was partying and what have you, which I disagreed with anyhow.
Frankly, the turnover of prime ministers shows a bad fit between the current conservative neoliberalism and the country as it stands. We can't run this country currently in its current state the way it's being run. It's not working. We've seen a huge increase in food banks. We've seen, poverty. We've seen rickets return, for Christ's sake.
Personally, I think they've done a brilliant job because we're better off now than we ever were.
Right.
That's all I can say. But my husband feels a bit different, I think. I'm not
Well,
sure.
we're definitely better off, but
Financially better off.
it definitely needs a change.
Do you think there's going to be a Labour government anyway?
Yeah.
So you both think the Tories have already blown this one?
Well,
Well,
I think so.
yeah.
I think so. And it didn't hurt with the old D-Day celebrations.
How did you guys feel about that?
So, he shouldn't have done it.
No.
Shouldn't have done it, without a doubt.
But he was there a long time, and they've seemed to. I think it's the media. We only know what the media's telling us. We don't know how long he was there for. How many hours he was there.
He should have been stood there with Biden.
He should have done it.
Well, I heard that Sunak left the thing early, but then that's par for the course of Sunak, isn't it? And he's always got an excuse. He's a multi-billionaire. He doesn't really want to be Prime Minister. You can see he hates the job, and he can't wait until... That's why it's called an early election, by the way, so he can get out and off to America with his wife.
I mean, you couldn't make it up. I mean, with all this sorriness he keeps on going on about, and then he leaves that 80 years, and not like the veterans will probably never be back there on next year because they'll probably be dead or whatever, and he couldn't hang around for another few more hours or another day or whatever it was because he felt he had to get back onto the old battle bus and sell his wear and all the rest of it. He knows he's finished.
I already don't like the man, and I don't think he's done himself any favours with this at all. If I was running for Prime Minister right now, I would not make a schoolboy error like that. That is... He's floating on a raft of sort of this post-World War I national service rhetoric, and yet he can't even do a day of national service.
That weren't very good, was it? No. I think he made a mistake there, Richie Sunak. But having said that, I do like Richie Sunak.
Right.
He has to be quite honest, when Liz Truss made that hiccup, shall we say, he did try to get the country back on track. And I think they're starting to do it, but they've made too many mistakes.
And then it doesn't matter what Rishi does, it's always a mistake. He can't seem to get it right.
Yeah.
And he comes up with an apology. And then they're harping on about this $2,000 that everybody's going to end up paying out of thin air. Nothing's been proved of that, you know what I mean? But he just...
Do you believe what he says about the $2,000, or do you
It
think...
probably is. Knowing the Labour, anything's possible with them.
They've got to be ousted, and I think Nigel Farage is the man to do that.
He does. I don't.
No, don't. So there's difference of opinion.
I do like him, but I don't. I'm just concerned that he will oust the Conservatives by taking their votes away.
I wasn't going to vote for Labour or Conservative before Nigel Farage said he was going to stand. I was going to vote Reform anyway. I have been online and looked at all their manifestos because I would do that before I voted for anybody. Labour and Conservative, they're just the same. They're not going to do any different to each other. They're just going to make a mess. Even more of a mess, rather.
I did support UKIP years ago, and I've always stuck with... I can never forget his name.
Nigel Farage?
Nigel, I think of Nigel, I see, yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's got good points, but I think all of them, they've got good and bad points.
I have strong feelings about Nigel Farage and the various parties that he's been part of. I do not see how a man of his background and his political leanings is going to benefit an area like this. Brexit seems to have been run for various stockbrokers to be able to make a ton of money. to profit from a disaster profiteering. And I don't see how that's suddenly going to magically change.
Hello folks, and before we continue, can I invite those of you who are watching on YouTube to drop us a like if you're finding this video engaging, and yeah, subscribe too, because it helps the channel and it means you won't miss out on any future videos. If you found something that someone has said so far disagreeable, don't drop us a dislike, that would be mean-spirited. Instead, let us know in the comments why you disagree with them. I'd like to see some healthy debate down there. And can I also invite you to check out the Pen News Substack at pennnews.substack.com. That's Pen News, PENNEWS.substack.com, where you can find our weekly Vox Pops in full with analysis, as well as all the other stories we're working on in the course of a week. Okay, that's it for now. Let's get back to it.
So the sooner Nigel Farage gets in and forms a government, the better. It won't be this election, but maybe the next election. Reform will get enough seats to form a government. I don't want a Labour government because they're left-wing, and I want a reform.
The Tories keep saying, oh, if you vote Reform, you'll get Labour. How do you feel about them saying that?
No, that's wrong, because they've voted Labour in themselves by their silly policies. The Conservatives are going to lose the election if Reform wasn't even formed. That's it. There's no way around it. You know, they've shot themselves in the foot 1,000 times. They've betrayed us. When we had Boris, we had a hope that we might get something done, but they stabbed him in the back and kicked him out, and we're left with a load of useless people.
Obviously, Nigel Farage is entering the race for Reform. How do you feel about that?
Yes, I'm all for that.
All for that.
Why not shake it up? Because at the end of the day, yeah, he's a very outstanding person, I believe.
Right.
And he's got deep views on the country and what have you. But do I trust him? Very debatable. But having said that, who do you trust these days? Because a lot of them will tell you this, that and the other, and you ain't gonna get nothing like it.
Sure. He was down here before on the Brexit thing, so to speak, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it was all for him. But I actually went down there the other day. Wouldn't normally do that, but I was interested and I was overwhelmed. I was all in it. I was
This is when he came to Clacton.
Yeah. And I was clapping to say yes, because he's saying what people want to hear.
The national health, I think, is the first thing. Otherwise, we're going to lose that completely. I mean, we've built up over the years to get it where it was, but now it's slipping down.
Well, apparently Mr Farage said last night on the debate that he'd like an insurance-based system rather than the NHS we've got now. Do you have any feelings about that?
Well, it's going to be like America, isn't it?
Right.
People can't afford that. I mean, I know that we're in a society where half of them don't go to work, where we've always worked to pay our way, which is put into our stamp, which is paid for the NHS. But I think we're going into a society now that person doesn't work, their children don't work, their children don't work. So there's no money going back into the pot. So I can see where he's coming from.
And frankly, Clacton, Jaywick, Seawick, the whole sort of this neck of Tendring is largely populated by people on benefits voting for parties that seem to want to cut benefits. That's never going to work.
Right.
You know, it's turkeys voting for Christmas.
Sure.
So, I don't know why popularist leaders are generally popular during bad times. And frankly, this is a bad time.
Do you think he'll get in round here?
Sadly, I think he stands a very good chance.
Jaywick is often named as one of the country's most deprived communities. I mean, how do you think Jaywick specifically has done under the Conservatives this past 14 years? Because it's had a Tory MP for a lot of that time, hasn't it?
I don't think they've built that Sunspot place, but apart from that, I don't think it's done particularly well.
Sure.
The roads are in a terrible condition and they don't do anything about it.
Do you think things have got better here under the Conservatives?
Certainly. We've got better road infrastructure. They've done all the roads, giving grants for the solar panels and all this, that and the other. So it's only making, well, my life and probably a lot of other people's lives easier.
Bit on the fence there. It's better than it was. Again, they spend silly money on an industrial down there, it's called the Sunspot, £5 million.
Right.
For God's sake, if they say it's a success, well, that depends on your point of view. You know, if nobody really sort of goes there as such, or it's more of a seasonal thing down there, then you can't exactly say it's worth the money. You might spend that $5 million and build some houses down there.
I mean, they've built that marvellous sunspot since we've moved here, haven't they?
Yeah.
And they are tidying it up, and people are renovating their properties better now, but there's still a lot of work to be done.
Sure.
Heck of a lot of work to be done.
The MP we've got here is absolutely useless. He's done nothing. He commissioned that sunspot up there. What a waste of money that is. What an absolute waste of money. How many millions did they spend on that?
People keep saying 5 to me.
5, I don't know. But it's £5. It's £5 too much. Because fancy putting a shopping centre in a very deprived area. The shopping centres in the major towns are closing down. So why would you spend all that money? They could have built a load of 1 and 2 bedroom bungalows up there for the homeless people and the people that are living in cardboard boxes up in the car estate. Didn't bother.
And if Nigel Farage got in here, do you think that would be a positive thing for this community? Do you expect it would bring a lot of change?
I hope it would bring change overall, a change in attitude from other places as well as just Clacton.
And if he follows through like I suspect he would do, then things will go.
So you think if he gets in, it will actually make a positive change here?
It's got to, even in Parliament. It's like he said down there. He said, even if you only elect me to be a nuisance down in Parliament, he said that's something. And and Parliament is one hell of a shake-up.
Right.
One hell of a shake-up.
I don't think it'll make any difference whether he gets in and whether it's be good for Jaywick or not, because he's like swimming upstream all the time against the current, and he's got a battle of Labour and all the rest of it. But the MP we've got now has done nothing for Jaywick. So he's built that sunspot or commissioned that. They've got the money out of the government, so many millions of pounds, and they've wasted it on that.
Have you given any thought to how you might vote this year?
If it's not Nigel, it will be the Green team.
The Greens. Oh, okay. There's quite a long way between them.
Yeah, I know. Because in Clacton we've got an eco team. She's going standing up for it. We do a lot of eco. We've got solar panels, everything else.
Right.
So we do on that side.
So you're very environmental on the quiet.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, Barry cleans the beach 3 times a day,
Right.
and everything's separated. So
Right.
and we do
okay.
like recycling things. If we can make things with rubbish.
I know. I'm going. You'll find the majority down here will be going for a reform.
Reform and Nigel Farage.
No ifs, no buts about it. I mean, I don't want the Labour in no more than most other people. But when you've got that no choice, it's either Labour or Conservative. That's all you get over the years. And believe you me, I've done it for a few years, seeing it backwards and forwards.
I'm from the north. I've been down here 40 years, and I've been a Labour man all my life. Will I vote Labour this time? I'm not so sure, because the similar policies on Labour. Labour's got as the Conservatives. They always say they're for the working man, but I don't know. They want to please the unions all the time, and you can't do that.
Well, he's going to Farage.
Nigel.
You're going for Nigel?
I'm going for Nigel.
And I'll
yeah.
go for Conservative. For what Lynn is it? Wait, Lynn? I don't know.
I can't remember off the top of my head. Okay, so we've got a bit of a split there.
Either Labour or tactically.
When you say voting tactically, do you mean like as in an anti-Tory tactical vote?
Yeah.
Or, right,
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Sure.
Reform. Everybody I know, look, I play in a pool team, right? I'm at boot sale tomorrow, right? I'm disabled. I can't walk very far. And everybody, all my circle of friends, and I've got hundreds, reform. Everybody reform. And you can talk to them last year, and you talk to them about immigration, they'll scream at you. Get rid of them. There's a load on the beach earlier on. They're a nuisance.
Have you ever gone Conservative or Labour before, or has it always been you voted for like a third party?
I think for years and years and years it was Labour.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think we went to Conservative. Then it was UKIP.
Right.
And then this year, I'm confused.
Confused. Not decided yet.
No,
fair enough.
I'm still kind of plodding along. I just hope whoever gets in does something for Britain, England.
Well, generally speaking, it's always been sort of conservative because the likes of Labour just never appealed to me. It's not because I didn't want to, and they're supposed to be for the working class, but they're not working class, and they're run by the unions. There'll always be strikes. It's like the back door going back into the EU again, because Starmer was talking to that woman at Von der Leyen or whatever her name is.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, talk to her, and it does make you wonder if that's what he's got in mind. Mind you, whether he can do it without the public's
say so.
But who knows? You have another debate on it and a referendum. The youngsters could well swing that way.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And who knows?
I thought I ain't voting Farage. I thought, will I vote Conservative? Well, maybe. They have helped the pensioners out and what have you.
Sure.
And, you know, I'm 75 now, so...
And are you guys happy to share how you might have voted in the past? Have you always gone
Always
the way?
gone
Always gone Conservative.
Always gone Conservative. So they've kept one, lost one.
Yeah.
Right, fair enough.
I'd only just say that if I felt Farage stood a really, really good chance of getting to the top, I would vote for him.
Like forming a government, getting to the top. Right.
That's just.
Oh no, he won't get in, but
That's what I'd say. That's not just why I felt it's a wasted vote.
no,
this
it's
time
definitely Starmer will get in, won't it?
Yeah.
If it ended up being the case that, you know, we ended up with a huge Labour majority, does that impact your thinking at all about voting reform?
Oh no, because then the thing is, Reform have got a better chance getting in the next election. They're not going to win this election, but they've got a better chance next one because the Labour are going to upset so many people. I mean, I've been in business all my life, right? I'm not now, I'm retired. If you're in business and Labour in power, you've had it. I was in business when Tony Blair was in. Taxes, VAT going up, taxes, VAT going up, never ended. They love spending other people's money. So good to have a Labour majority. There's no excuse. They can't say we couldn't do nothing because we're held up in Parliament. We've got a big majority, but they're just going to destroy it for everybody, and then hopefully Reform will get in the next one.
Do you think that's what Mr Farage is thinking? He's thinking, right, the Tories are going to completely crash it, then Nigel's going to be able to go, right, we'll be the new right-wing
That's
party.
right, yes, that's what's going to happen. You can see the right has been on the wall for at least 2 years. As soon as they got rid of Boris, the right was on the wall, and you can see that Nigel Farage thought, this is not right, because that was his mate.
Well, that's it for today's episode, and it's been a really fascinating one for me personally. I mean, I've spoken to a lot of people off camera as well as on camera, and whatever you think about what people have said here today, I've got to say that more than any of the other locations I've been to, and this is our 14th episode, that I've really found a remarkable sense of community here in Jaywick. I'll be talking to someone, and then someone else will walk past and say, oh, hello. They'll engage, and they'll have a brief conversation, and I'll be speaking to someone, and they'll say, oh, you should speak to so-and-so over there, you know. There's a real sense of community, and it's supposed to be one of Britain's most deprived places. And I think that's remarkable. It really is. Well, anyway, that's it for today. As I said earlier, if you're watching on YouTube, drop us a like and please subscribe. And hey, why not comment too? That's it for now, and we'll see you next time.